What's up my loves, my name is Paige, this is Paige with the Page, and today we're going to be doing my January wrap up. I completed everything that I needed to get on my TBR, aside from 27 Animorphs books. But I'm not mad at that. I managed to get to the halfway point of the Animorphs series and I'm super proud of that. So I'm taking that as a win. I will gradually work in the Animorphs books throughout the rest of this year. I'm going to try to aim for 5 a month, just depending on how things go, so then I can continue to progress relatively quickly. So in January, I read 34 things and I'm super proud of what I managed to get accomplished. I want to preface this that I am not going to review every single book of Animorphs and tell you the ratings. I might tell you some highs and some lows. My lowest have been 6 3.5 stars. I've had 2 5 stars and a couple of 4.5s, and then the rest are 4 stars. So it's a 4-star series. I'm having a lot of fun overall, but I don't need to go into that detail. I will have a graphic somewhere sometime with the full lot of visuals. I might actually do it in chunks now that I think about it, to be able to summarize the ratings of them. There were some that I felt were a little bit dud, just in terms that they didn't end up, they were like standalones within the series and just unnecessary. I do acknowledge the fact that these were put out as 1 a month, so that is intense. But let's get into the stats. So like I said, I read 34 books, which equated to 6,790 pages, which bloody brilliant. This equated to about 199 pages per book and me reading 212 pages per day. I was also in a reading slump for at least a week and a half, like full blown, couldn't even touch a book. So the fact that I read that much on top of this blows my mind. My average rating was a 4.06. I had 1 reread. My listening hours was 44.47. That is a shit ton. I read 2 contemporary, 5 fantasy, and 27 sci-fi. I read 20 audibly, 3 audio and ebooks, 4 just straight ebooks, 1 physical book, and 6 physical and audio combo. It is so weird that audiobooks have surpassed all of it. Yeah. But I still feel like I took in a lot of it and they were really easy to listen to. So I had a lot of fun with that. Unfortunately, I have reached the end of books that have audiobooks. Not going to be able to get any more and we'll just have to read them digitally, but that's fine. In terms of age range, I read 4 adult, 3 YA, and 27 middle grade. I'm putting them as middle grade even though as we progress throughout the series they are getting more and more teenager, so branching into that, but I really feel like it starts off as a middle grade series and ages with the reader. My ratings have been 3 5 stars, 6 4.5, 17 4 stars, and 8 3.5. I read 4 standalones, I started 4 series, and I read 26 ongoing in a series. My biggest book was The Binding at 438 pages, and my smallest was The Attack, which is Animorphs book 26 with 145 pages. 80% of my reading, being the Animorphs series, was published between 1996 and 1999, with 1 book being published in 1989 and the other remaining 6 between 2015 and 2021. My reading stats are going to be screwed for the rest of the year, so I'm curious to see how I end up balancing this out. Most of this was done through the Libby app. We managed to find a library card that matched and had all of them on it, so very curious to see how we go. I read 7 new to me authors and the remaining 27 was read before because I had read the first Animorphs book before. So what I'm going to do is chunk out the Animorphs sections that I read before them reading a non-Animorphs book. I think that might be the easiest way to go. So the first 4 books that I read were the first 4 Animorphs book. The only physical one I have is The Invasion, which is book 1. And all of these were 4 stars. This was for the TBR prompt of sparkly gold or silver on the title, and book 2 was partner pick, so I actually kindly picked the second one as an optional read. The next book I read was Asking for It by Louise. This was recommended read, and Aoife had picked this for me for my advent calendar, and I gave this 5 stars. This is everything that I love in a hard-hitting contemporary. As much as it hurts me, I was gasping at what was occurring, and I don't understand how particular things happened. The ending I'm still so bitter, but so happy with it. It just perfectly encapsulated the pain that goes along with making an accusation and having evidence to support it, but then that evidence not being validated in a justice system. It is so hard to read. These kids just, I want to murder them so much, but it was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. I love the commentary in it, and it just, this is exactly the kind of thing that if you've got a topic of sexual assault, this is definitely the vibe that I just am there for. I can't say that I enjoyed the reading experience because holy shit, but also it was exceptionally well done. I just could not put it down. I did read it in one day because I needed to keep going. I couldn't put it down, and it was just brilliant. So thank you, Eva from Pretty Purple Polka Dots, for recommending this to me, because oh lordy. As this was going towards my advent calendar, I did want to also mark this off on camera because I have the most adorable corgi butt washi. So I want to put this on. I want to put this on every month. So it's just up here. So and goes the corgi butt. It's so cute. So I've used it up here. I just love it so much. Oh my god, I'm so happy. I love it. This is gonna fill me with joy. And I will probably write in the rating just so I've got that for my reference as well. I'm not going to go through all my other challenges that I have because no, we can do a recap in my mid-year check-in. Although I will tell you my Buzzwordathon book when I get to it. The next book that I read was The Binding by Bridget Collins, and this was Pattern Pick. So this is one of Ash's favorite books and he desperately wanted me to read it. So I ended up giving this a 4 stars. I really enjoyed the mystery regarding it and the fantastical elements that are present. I would describe this as historical fantasy, and I had so much fun just being immersed in this time period. Emmett's storyline had a little bit too much predictability for me. I could see a lot of twists and turns, but the ones that I didn't see, I was absolutely blown away by. And I think it does a lot of brilliant things in discussing a variety of topics. There is LGBT rep in this, which also very much appreciate. The way that it was done seemed very historically accurate, although I'm not a historian, but for me, I felt like, yes, I could see this happening the way that it unfolded. And then using the binders as these individuals that take memory and the stereotypes, I don't feel like that's right, thoughts and opinions of the general populace towards these people being so negative because they feel like they allow them to get away with villainous deeds. Interesting concept on what constitutes a good and bad person. So I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really happy that Ash has been pushing me to read it, and I love this edition, and I'm glad that we could actually have a good chat about it. This was also for my advent calendar as decorator edges because that was the prompt that Ash picked to be able to then tell me to pick up the binding. So there's another corgi butt. Look at him! Oh, it's so cute. I'm so happy I decided to do this. Not currently working my way towards a bingo, but I gotta read them all anyway. Then the next book I read was The Girl from Everywhere by Heidi Hellig, and this was for a book hauled years previously. Oh look, a historical fantasy. Ha! So we had a lot of historical fantasy set near the ocean or near bodies of water. So I'm not mad about it, but it's definitely not something that I usually gravitate towards, and the fact that this month was so heavy with it was just very interesting experience. Got a little bit more variety for February, which is nice. But this was my buzzword book because it has where in the title, and because the buzzword challenge was who, what, when, where, why, and how. And I also gave this a 4 star. I really enjoyed getting to see Nyx's story. I think the world was exceptionally well done, and I think it's just my hiccup with time travel and the reason behind time traveling. The concept of using maps to travel to different parts of the world in different times to be able to do things, and the way that it influences on the future, very fascinating. The reason why they were traveling, not my cup of tea. You would think that if you know this book, I would be fully on board with it, but I just couldn't get behind it. I think the very toxic parent-child dynamic in this just, it left a sour taste in my mouth, and I didn't like the captain. I don't think you're meant to like him, but I wanted to feel something towards him other than irritation. It was very interesting seeing the dynamics between them and his opium use and being a drug addict, and the way that that was described as well was fascinating, especially given the time period that it's set, which is, I think it's mostly in the 1800s. Very interesting concepts on that front, but I think my irritation towards the captain, I didn't love it as much as I would have liked to in that regard. I feel like the dynamic could have been done better to actually explore it in a more in-depth and personal level rather than just skating on the surface. Curious to see how book 2 goes. Absolutely love Cash in this. I love his character archetype and just beautiful. I had a good time reading it, 4 stars overall. There were just little elements that I was like, I can see why this isn't a new favorite. Next up, I read 4 more Animorphs. So that was book 5 to 8. I had a high with The Predator, which is book 5, getting to see Marco's backstory, and a low with book 8, which is the alien, where we're in Axe's brain, and hilarious in terms of him and his love for food, especially cigarette butts and cinnamon rolls, but also it just didn't offer anything more. So yeah, a lot of my 3.5s, I just felt they could have gone without. Like, they're hilarious and they usually got more lightness to them, whereas some of the other ones can be quite dark, but this just didn't hold my attention for any further. Then I read Queens of Geek by Jem Wild, and I gave this 4.5 stars. I had so much fun reading this. It was a blast. The bisexual rep in this, just yes! I really liked seeing the 2 different dynamics of a character that likes to stand out and one that likes to hide in the shadows, and them sort of navigating the world in different ways but being in the same area, and that they're friends. I really enjoyed seeing the exploration of emotionally manipulative relationships and how people recover from that, how it isn't a one and done thing and it can take months and years to feel like in a confident place again, but also having a good discussion of not having to hide relationships because of past ones. And then Taylor and her relationship, beautiful. I loved it. I'm so proud. I just was cheering for them the entire time. It's a good fun read and I've really, really appreciated this. 4.5, a light and fluffy read, which was exactly what I needed at this point. Then I read 3 more Animorphs books and I gave 1 4-star and 2 3.5. The Android, I really enjoyed seeing the introduction of a new character. The Forgotten, I've literally forgotten what happened in it. So the next book that I read was Monstrous Hearts by Mckenna, and I gave this a 3.5. I liked it, but I wanted so much more from it. It kills me because this cover is beautiful and it was a gift that I asked Mum to get me, and I'm very mad at myself falling for Magpie rather than getting something that I had been actively wanting for so long, because I want to hold on to this and cherish it because it was a gift. But I'm also like, oh dear God, this was not a new favorite. I really enjoyed the sort of Beauty and the Beast vibes that it gave. Not Beauty and the Beast retelling at all, but there's the grouchy neighbor that keeps to himself and everyone's like, ah, he's evil, blah, 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 which I really liked. I liked the magic of the different types of blood magic and the way that they were utilized, but there were just elements of it that I think felt really flat. Nothing was proper developed and I just read it. I didn't leave going, oh my God, I had so much fun, or, you know, this was really astounding, the commentary was immaculate. There wasn't anything like that. It was more just like I had a good time reading this. I want to continue on with the series, but I'm also probably going to check them out from the library first because I don't feel confident in the fact that I'm going to continue on loving this. I'm really curious to see where it goes, which is always a good sign, but aside from that, I'm not sure how the rest of it will shape up. The ending also was really abrupt and weird. Take of that what you would. Apologies for the angle change, battery died. So then I read the next 13 Animorphs in a row. That was a lot. Yeah. I found the audiobooks for the majority of this section, so I was just happy to fly through. With these, we did have 2 lows with the reaction and the unknown. The reaction was from Rachel and they have an allergic reaction, which again, it was the same with the unknown. They are just like side stories. They're not part of the plot and felt a little bit unnecessary, but they're still a light read and they're usually fun. So not a bad read, but they just don't add anything. And the allergic reaction one was quite weird. And another 3.5 was The Suspicion, which again just had a really random side plot. But we also had 4 4.5s in this section and the 2 5 stars. So books 19 to 22 were 4.5 and 5-star reads because we start the David trilogy. Book 19 is leading up and getting to explore the big bad perspective, and I just found that really beautiful. And then books 20 to 22 is known as David's trilogy, and holy shit, the stakes were raised. Damn, son! I was so shook at the different things that happened, and I just, good lord, many things are unfurling. I find that when talking to my friend about this series, he was one of the ones that encouraged me to read it. He's like, this is peak. This is perfection. So that was a lot of fun. And then getting to hear Gavin's thought, I will leave his Animorphs vlog linked below. I've only up to the halfway mark because I'm not watching it until I've read it. But we're getting there. And please go watch his vlog and give it some love, especially if you don't mind being spoiled for each of the different scenarios. I think it's really fun. So if you don't have any intention of reading them, go watch it because you won't need to, and you go along for the ride as well. So that just blew it out of the water with the way that the story actually progressed and facing something that wasn't just the big bad. The big bad has sort of become a caricature at this point. Are they actually ever going to cause any problems? I don't know. I can't wait for the ending to see how it all shapes up. But this just created high stakes, high risk, and it was so good. And then the next book that I read was Guards by Terry Pratchett, and this was for my Terrying through time, and I gave this a 4.5. I really enjoy Terry Pratchett's humor and turning tropes on their head, just seeing the different characters and taking what I know and love in fantasy and totally shaking it at completely 180. I had so much fun with this, and I just enjoyed getting to know the Discworld without trying to figure out the world. For me, I've tried to read The Color of Magic before, and I only got 2 chapters in and I went, nope, I'm gonna come back to this at a later date. And that was because I could not fathom the world. I wasn't a fantasy reader at this time, so I hadn't really experienced anything on that front anyway. And then it being so complex, I was just like, nah, I got nothing. So coming into the City Watch, I was super happy to be able to experience the world and learn about it and enjoy the characters, which really make the novel. It doesn't matter too much about the wider world. It's all about the interactions with the characters, and they're so fucking funny. I want to be Sybil when I grow up. And it's a lot of fun. So I've had a great time. I can't wait to continue on with the series, and I can't wait to discuss with Jacqueline Guards, and then hopefully a wider discussion for Men at Arms with the wider community. So Mel from A Book Fiend Named Mel will be joining us on this read along. So if you would like to join in and you're happy to read Guards or jump in, or have already read Guards and want to jump in with Men at Arms, feel free. I will leave the Discord linked below. But it was a ride. So good. Then I read 2 more Animorphs books. One of those was 3.5 because essentially they're going to the North Pole. And then the final non-Animorphs book that I read is Ariadne by Jennifer Sayne, and I've been dying to get to this since it came out last year. I've wanted to pick this up, and I finally did, and I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I feel like the ending leaves a lot to be desired, in the sense that I don't feel like it did what it was trying to do in the rest of the narrative justice. I feel like it became very just, men are fucked up, we're not going to be able to redeem them, so fuck them. But throughout the remaining 85–90% of the novel, I was really in awe of seeing the different perspectives. We follow Ariadne and her sister. Please don't ask me to pronounce it, even though I was listening to the audiobook. I've got nothing. I knew her sister's myth. Completely forgot about it, so when it was unfurling, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Why did these sound familiar? Oh shit. Which was an enjoyable experience for me to have. Ariadne, I really didn't know much, and I'm really happy that I wasn't too knowledgeable on it. I obviously know about the Minotaur and Theseus, but Ariadne really hadn't heard much. And then to see where she goes and what happens in the island of Naxos, I really just enjoyed seeing how she grew. Ash had also read this and said, like, towards the end he felt like it really got man-hatey, and so I could definitely see where he's coming from. And I don't feel like if you're trying to make it a feminist take, that by hating on the other sex is going to support that. I also don't remember the ending happening in the original mess. I'm pretty sure Mr. D didn't do that, but I could be very wrong, so please correct me, but I'm pretty sure he didn't. And so to then go to that extreme, it just was like, what the fuck is happening? 4 stars, really enjoyed, love the feminist take, just wish the ending had been a little bit different. And then finally, I read the 27th Animorph book on the last 2 days. I just split it over 2 because I started it late one night and didn't have a chance to read it the next day. So I finished that off and I gave it a 4 stars. So that is that. Holy fuck. I don't want to edit this. So this is the non-Animorph stack of book that I read this month. I'm still in shock I managed to read 27 of the fuckers. Hopefully February will be a little bit more diverse in my reading. I'm so scared to see how my statistics don't change for the rest of the year. Let me know in the comments what your favorite read of January was. Mine definitely was asking for it, so thank you so much, Aoife. I had a ball. And then Queens of Geek, just, oh, so good. If you like this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of this mess, feel free to subscribe. And I'll hopefully see you on my next video. Bye!